So, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, just wait. Okay, you are able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so can we say where we left in the last class? Where we were working an example? Oh, I see. Oh, that means, okay, I understand. Okay, so in the frictional forces that we were discussing, um, I think I took different values and then where the actually static friction, how the static friction reaches its maximum value. After that, a transition takes place. The force of static friction, maximum force of static friction, reduces to force of kinetic friction, and how the body moves. Now you see, just to remind you, so there is an equation called Fk. Fk is equal to mu kn. Okay, this is an empirical equations. If you ask me how this equation is derived, I cannot say, because experimentally or empirically it has been found out that the force of kinetic friction is directly proportional to normal force, and this mu k is a dimensionless constant. It's a pure number, and it is called coefficient of kinetic friction, and this Fk is called force of kinetic friction. This n is called normal force. So this is a scalar equation, or this is a vector equation. This Fk is equal to mu kn. Yes, this is a scalar equation. But can I write a vector equation? Yes. Now this equation is a scalar equation. But there is a vector on the left hand side. There is a vector on the right hand side. And all of you know that if A is a vector and n is a positive scalar quantity, and if you want to multiply n and A, then you will get a new vector in the same direction as A, but now its magnitude will increase by n times. So NA is equal to B. That is what you will get, isn't it? So now, so that equation says that if A is such a vector, and let us assume n is equal to 2, then your B will be twice the magnitude of A vector and in the same direction. So similarly, because Fk is a vector on the left hand side, n is a vector on the right hand side, and if I want to write a vector equations, then like the vectors that I have discussed just now, then I will write it as Fk is equal to mu k n, isn't it? I can write it as Fk is equal to mu k, and then I will put a vector here, isn't it? So can I write it like this or not? That is my question.
No, sir.
Why?
The direction is
Yes, because yes, because both the vectors are perpendicular to each other. So so you see, we though so though there are two vectors on both the sides of the equations, but you are not require, or you are not authorized to write the equation in vectorial notation. Only the scalar form of this equation is correct. Okay, so we have probably discussed all these things, or we have not discussed. Can you say? Otherwise there will be repetitions. Whether we have discussed,
discussed.
We have already discussed. We have already discussed. So there is no point discussing these things, isn't it? So have I discussed the graph also? The force of friction versus the applied force? No. Yes. So graph was not discussed. So let me discuss that graph. That is also very crucial. Now what will happen? Whatever I have talked in the last class, maybe, uh, and suppose I want to sketch that relationship. This is my Fs. On the y-axis, I have taken my Fs in Newton, and the applied force Fa on the x-axis, that is also in Newton. Now you know, the force of static friction is a self-adjusting force. Self-adjusting means what? According to the value of the applied force, the force of static friction will take a value. We just take the same value, but that will happen up to a limit, and that limit is called force of maximum static friction. So up to force of maximum static friction, the relationship between Fs and Fk is linear. That is like a straight line. So I can draw the Fs Fk relationship like a straight line, which will make an angle 45 degree. Naturally, the slope will be 45 degree. Once it reaches this point, this is called the force of maximum static friction, isn't it? So this point is the this is Fs maximum. This is Fs maximum. And you see, this is also Fs maximum. On the x-axis, that value where for this is also this Fa, here also this Fa is equal to Fs maximum, particularly at this point. Okay, otherwise this Fa is along this axis. Okay, but here at this point, your applied force is also equal to mu Sn, because Fs maximum is mu Sn. Fs is not equal to mu Sn, that I have told you. Fs can take a value from 0 to mu Sn, any value. Now what happens, this point is a very important point. That is what is called a point of transition. Point of transition means here you will be right if you say the object is at rest, and you will be right if you say that the object uh, starts its motion. Normally, of course, this is taken as a rest, okay, because at that point the body just starts its moving, and once this body changes its state from rest to motion, immediately the force will drop. You see, immediately the force will drop to a smaller value, and that is what is known as Fk. Okay, now you see this value is your Fk. Okay, so now this value will be your Fk. So what happens if your applied force, which was mu Sn, and now the force of friction is Fk, then there is a net force which is Fa minus Fk. Why Fa minus Fk? Because you were applying a force of maximum force of static friction. Otherwise, you cannot free your body from the interlockings. That is not possible. So everybody has to reach that force of maximum static friction. Okay, you have to try the patience of the force of static friction and allow it to reach its maximum value. Once it will reach its maximum value, then it cannot reach further, and then it has to yield its ground. Yield matlab जमीन आपको छोड़ देगा. Okay, after that it is you who will reign over the force of static friction. So this is mu s, and mu k, as you know, it is always mu k n. And force of kinetic friction is not a self-adjusting force. That is a constant force. That also you must know. So what happens, though you increase the applied force, this Fk is not going to increase. This Fk is not going to increase. It will remain as it is. So more the applied force, more will be this difference, and more will be the net force, because this will generate a net force. And net force is not going to be zero. isn't it? This net force is not going to be 0 because we are discussing in x-axis, so I can put a x also, there is no problem. So the net force is not equal to 0. If it is not equal to 0, it must be equal to product of two quantities, mass into acceleration, m into ax. Okay, so now you see, if you want to keep the body moving, suppose you don't want your body to move with acceleration, but you want that your body should move, but it should move with uniform velocity. So what should be the applied force? That is my question. After that, we will straight go to the examples and do a couple of examples. Yes. Suppose you don't want your body to move with constant acceleration, but you want your body to move with constant velocity. Then what you are going to do? Yes, am I audible? Mu kn, good, that is right. You have to allow your applied force to fall to the level of mu kn. So once your mu sn, this applied force will become mu kn, isn't it? Once it will become mu kn, then mu kn minus mu kn will be 0. So the net force acting on the body will be 0 and the body will maintain its state of inertia because your body was in the state of motion. So the inertia was the inertia of motion and the body will continue to move with uniform velocity, that is with a fixed speed in a fixed direction. And if you reduce your applied force less than mu kn, then your body will stop because your applied force will not be able to counter the required force of kinetic friction. That's why the body will come to stop. Now whatever we have learned, now we are going to apply those things into 4 examples. Actually there are 2 examples in the lesson plan, but there is a series of 3 examples which are closely related to each other. So I will take those examples for you also. So this is all about the friction. Now prepare for the examples. These examples are very nicely designed and we will learn many things. And if at all any misconceptions about friction is there, I hope these examples will clarify you. So the first is example 5.13. Okay, let me think. So this is example 5.13. Okay, so I am reading out the example. If you don't have a book, don't get frustrated or don't get disturbed. You want to move a 500 Newton crate. Crate means box. So there is a level ground, horizontal ground like this, isn't it? This is the ground which is horizontal, and there is a big box, okay, which is called crate, C-R-A-T-E, crate, like this, almost like an almirah, isn't it? So this is a crate. This is the horizontal surface. So let me call it the crate. Okay, and you had a desire to move that crate. So you are trying to apply a force. Okay, so you will apply a force. Okay, let me. Okay, so bus. So you are trying to pull this crate. Okay, so and this crate has a weight acting vertically downwards, 500 Newton. And you know the force of friction is always, be it force of static friction or force of kinetic friction, they are always proportional to the normal force. Because it is a horizontal surface, the normal force will also act vertically upwards, isn't it? So if I draw the free body diagram for a crate, I am drawing the free body diagram for a crate, not man. Okay, because I am for me the important thing is the crate and not the man. So I will draw the free body diagram for crate. Okay, so free body diagram for crate. Now what steps I have to follow? Can anybody say what steps I have to follow? Yes, please tell. If I am audible, please tell. Yes. Now, first I have to reduce this crate to a point, because I have told you repeatedly that I am reading the physics of a particle up to chapter 8. In chapter 9, I am not going to reduce the object into a point particle, because rotation will comes into picture. But here rotation is not involved, so I have the authority to reduce it to a point. Then I will draw my axis. This is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. So these are the two steps where you have to follow it everywhere. Now we'll come to you. So you say that there is a weight which will always act vertically downwards. So I will show it like this. Okay. Now this is the W, or weight. Now what will happen? There is a normal force. So the normal force is N. This is N, this is W. Okay. Okay. So, and then you will, yes, you want to move a 500 Newton crate across a level floor. To start the crate moving, what you have to do? And can anybody say? Suppose you want to move the crate, then what you are going to do? Just wait. Very slowly you have to go. We have to apply a force, an external force, isn't it? Why we should apply an external force?
To break the interlocking between the floor and
Yes,
almari,
to break the
the
to
crate.
break the interlocking between the box surface and the horizontal surface. Okay. Then you have to start from zero applied force, and you have to continue. You have to increase it continuously up to what value? Yes. Maximum static friction. Yes, that is right. Maximum static friction. Because in order to move that crate, you do not need the force of maximum static friction. But in order to free the body, because in order to move the body, you have to first release it from the interlockings. And in order to release from the interlockings, your applied force must reach the value of maximum force of static friction, which is 230 Newton. Here, to start the crate moving, you have to pull with a 230 Newton horizontal force. So this person, this man, has to apply 230 Newton applied force, so that the box, the interlockings will break and the box will start moving. So I will show my force of the applied force FA. Okay, here, which is 500, sorry, 230 Newton. So this is 230 Newton. Okay. Then what happens? I'm again reading out the question. To start the crate moving, you have to pull with a 230 Newton horizontal force. Once the crate breaks loose, or once the crate is able to come out from the interlockings and starts to move, then you need not apply 230 Newton horizontal force. Rather, you can keep it moving at constant velocity with only 200 Newton. So now in order to move it with constant velocity, you need not require 230 Newton. Only 200 Newton is enough, because this Fk is 200 Newton. Remember, this Fk, force of kinetic friction, is 200 Newton. And if you apply 230 Newton, then there is a extra unbalanced force of 30 Newton. So the crate will, instead of moving with uniform velocity, it will have a constant acceleration, and the motion is called motion with constant acceleration, which we are not dealing, because you are not, first you apply 230 Newton, then you adjust your force to 200 Newton. Once it is coming out of the interlockings. Okay. So now your FA, I have to show not 230 Newton, rather I have to show it because now the crate is moving. So I am drawing the free body diagram of the crate moving. This was the crate at rest, remember, when the interlocking is still in action. So you can, this is FBD for crate moving. FBD for crate moving with constant velocity. Moving is equal to V constant. Moving, crate moving with constant V, isn't it? With constant V. Otherwise, I can show with constant V, isn't it? With a constant V. So the constant V means the net force must be 0. So Fk is also 200 Newton. Applied force is also 200 Newton. And N is also equal to W. So you can apply Newton's first law both for X component and Y component. And what you are going to get, first I will apply it for X component. So I will write Fa minus Fk is equal to 0. Fa, sorry, I am applying, already I am applying. So this summation sign will not be there. Rather, I will write Fa minus Fk. Fa is positive, Fk is negative. So Fa minus Fk is equal to 0. Or Fa is equal to Fk. And Fk is mu Kn. So mu Kn is equal to 200 Newton. 200 Newton. But N is 500 Newton. So mu K is equal to, this is 200 Newton. So mu K is equal to 200 Newton by 500 Newton. So Newton get cancelled. So you will be left with a number. And how to find out the number? Multiply 2 to the numerator and 2 to the denominator. So it will become 400 by 1000 or 4 by 10. So this is 0.40. So you get your coefficient of kinetic friction as 0.40. 0.40, isn't it? And if you go for this Newton's first law in y direction, then where from you got this N is equal to 500 Newton, because weight is given. That we got from applying the Newton's first law in y component, because sum of Fy is equal to 0 or N minus W is equal to 0 or N is equal to W. If N minus W is equal to 0, then N is equal to W. And W is given 500 Newton. So N is equal to 500 Newton, which I have used here. Now, if I will draw the free body diagram for the crate at rest, suppose the crate is has not yet started moving, and you are increasing the force of static friction to the maximum force of maximum start before it starts. FBD for crate before it starts to move. Before it starts to move. Before it starts to move. It starts to move. Okay, before it starts to move. Then I will apply here, I will write instead of Fa, I will write Fs maximum, isn't it? I'll write Fs, this applied force is equal to 230 Newton. So here, instead of 200 Newton, I'll write 230 Newton. This is 230 Newton. And in place of Fk, I will write Fs maximum. So this is Fs maximum. Fs maximum. Okay. So now Fs maximum is mu s n. So again we will apply Newton's first law. Fa minus Fs maximum is equal to 0. So 230 minus mu s n is equal to 0, or mu s n is equal to 230 Newton, or mu s is equal to 230 by 500 Newton. So again you have to multiply 2 in the numerator and 2 in the denominator. So it will become 460 by 1000 or 46 by 100. Okay, n cancel, so it becomes another number 0.46. So naturally mu s should be greater than mu k, and 0.46 is also greater than 0.40. So this is how, whatever I have explained you, how the friction, how in order to first, in order to move any body in the presence of friction, the conditions are: first you have to apply an applied force, second you have to increase the applied force in steps to reach out the maximum value of the static friction. After reaching out that value, the body gets freed from the interlockings, and then you need not have to apply that much force if you want to continue the body move with uniform velocity. Then you have to reduce your you have to reduce your applied force to the level of force of kinetic friction, and then there is no difficulties in keeping the body in constant velocity motion. But if you want to allow your body to move with acceleration, then you continue with that force. There is no difficulty. Even you can apply a bigger force, but you should not be afraid that if you are going to apply a bigger force, then the kinetic friction will also become bigger. No, the kinetic friction is different from force of static friction, because kinetic friction is not a self-adjusting force, but static friction is a self-adjusting force. And I hope I have explained all these things of frictions. Still there are very interesting questions, and I will take, is it clear? Is it clear? Is it clear? Good, very good. So let me erase all these things, and then we'll go to another example. The example that is there in your lesson plan is example 5.16. But as that example has connections with 5.10, a previous example and a subsequent example of 5.17, so first I will take 5.10, then I will take 5.16, and then I will discuss example 5.17. Okay, so the next example is actually in the book, the example is 5.16 that you first. So I will also read out that example, and then we will go to the other examples, 5.16. But I'll do one previous example, that is example 5.10. You can call it a series of closely related examples, one series on 5.10, then this 5.16, then a subsequent exercise, that is example 5.17. Okay, so now what is 5.10? So gradually we will proceed. So now I will be taking example 5.10. Okay, so what is example 5.10? A toboggan. Let me draw a diagram, so you should not be afraid of these words. Okay, so this is a book, American book, so there is ice in those countries, so it's like a sledge kind of thing which moves on the snow. So toboggan, Tobozzan, toboggan. Okay, so what is the question? There is a hill is there, and it has a slope. This is the horizontal line, This is the inclined plane. So there is a slope. And now this toboggan is loaded with students. So there is a sledge kind of like this. This will slide in the forward directions, isn't it? So, and there are lot of students loaded in the toboggan like this. Okay. So the students are there. Okay. Okay. And now let us see the questions. A toboggan loaded with students, total weight W, slides down a snow-covered slope. Okay, snow covered slope. The hill slopes at a constant angle alpha. This alpha is not changing. And the toboggan is so well waxed. That means the back portion, which is in touch with the snow-covered hill, has been waxed. Waxed mean something like this candle and all this candle kind of thing is put there. So it will make it slippery, or the whole effect is to reduce the friction. So now you see the toboggan is well waxed. अच्छा से waxed हो गया. So that will become slippery, and as such it is sliding on a snow covered hill. So as such the snow covered hill has almost zero friction, and the back of the toboggan is also well waxed. So friction is zero. In the absence of friction, no friction. So the students are very fortunate that they are moving in a no friction atmosphere. Okay, no friction situation. Now the question says you, okay, now the question is, what is its acceleration? This toboggan is moving with acceleration. So, and he has asked you, what should be the acceleration? Now there are important things. Who is important for us? Can anybody say? Who is important? Because there are many bodies. There is a hill, there is earth, there is toboggan. So all these kind of things are there. But who is important for us? Toboggan. Good, very good. So I will draw the free body diagram for the toboggan. So free body diagram for the toboggan. Free body for free body diagram for toboggan. Okay. So what are the forces acting on the toboggan? Because I have to show this toboggan. Sorry, I have to show the forces on the toboggan, other forces acting on the toboggan. So what should I do? I have to show the forces. So let me ask you first. So what are the forces you think that are acting on the toboggan? Just wait. We have to go very slowly. Wait. Show the weight. I will show the weight perpendicular to it like this. This is the weight. And normally my normal force is like this. So I will show it like this.
Sir,
Am I right?
No, sir. It is wrong.
It is wrong. Which is wrong? W or N? Weight is wrong.
Wait.
Both is wrong.
Why do you think that I have drawn the
Both are wrong.
Normal is also.
Sir, both are wrong.
both are
Wrong.
both are wrong. Where W is wrong?
Sir, weight is W is
Weight
should be normal to the
Weight always acts vertically downwards. That is right. So remember this word, vertically downwards. There is nothing called normal for weight. it is vertically downwards, because I have drawn the weight normal to the inclined surface, which is wrong. Whatever the surface may be, however the body may be oriented, the weight is not going to be perpendicular or normal to anything, except the weight will act vertically downward. Fortunately, for a horizontal surface, the vertical direction is normal. So maybe you will be thinking that the weight acts normal. No, the weight always acts vertically downwards, isn't it? Vertically downward. So this is wrong. Okay, so I have to show the correct thing, and the correct will be, I have to show the weight like this. Then where the n is wrong,
N should be perpendicular to the surface.
perpendicular to the surface. N is not vertically upward. Weight is vertically downward, but n is not vertically upward. So if you have a misconception, then you have to remove it from your mind. Okay, n is normal to the surface where the body is lying. Okay, so this is your n. So there are two forces. Okay, and you see, so now I will draw the free body diagram. So there are two choices before me. Either I can take my x-axis like this, y-axis like this, and then I have to show my weight like this and the normal force like this. This is one choice. Okay, a normal force one like this. This I can do, but my mathematics will be simple if I will draw the free body diagram by taking my axis analogous to the inclined surface. That means I will take my x-axis like this, you see, parallel to the toboggan surface, and automatically my y direction will be perpendicular to it. Then what will happen, I will show my n along the y-axis, because y-axis is normal to the x-axis and x-axis is my inclined surface, and then I will show my w vertically downwards. Okay, this is my w, and you see this w makes an angle alpha with the y-axis. This angle is alpha. Why? Because the normal to the horizontal is my w. You see, this is the normal to the horizontal, and normal to the inclined surface is your n. Okay, so and n is in the y direction, and w is your this direction. So naturally this angle will also be alpha. You can prove it, very easy to prove, isn't it? So because this will be 90 degree minus alpha, this whole angle is 90 degree. So 90 degree minus 90 degree minus alpha means 90 degree minus 90 degree plus alpha. So it will be alpha. So this angle will be alpha. If this angle will be alpha, then opposite to it will be the sine component. Opposite to it, this will be your sine component. That is parallel to the x-axis. Okay, parallel to the x-axis. Okay, and the adjacent will be the cos component. Okay, that is also one thing. If you either the sine component will be your horizontal component, cos component will be your horizontal component, sine component will be your vertical component. If you measure your angle from x-axis to like this, but you have to take it 270 degree plus alpha. So why should we do that? Okay, so that's why I can, then there is another way. In front of alpha is sine, adjacent to alpha is cos. Both the ways are possible. Either you can measure your angle like this from the positive x-axis anti-clockwise like this. Then you see this is 90, 90, 180, this 90, 270 plus alpha. So you have to write the horizontal component as cos 270 plus alpha and your vertical component as sine 270 plus alpha. But that sine 270 plus alpha will become minus cos alpha and the other will be sine alpha. So that's why you can, this will be your sine alpha. So w sine alpha will be along x-axis and w cos alpha will be along the negative y-axis, isn't it? This will be your w cos alpha. So now what I will do, I will wiggle out this w. This w is no more, and then there are two components, w cos alpha and the w sine alpha. Now look at this. There is no friction. So nobody is going to oppose your applied force. Now, which is your applied force? This W sine alpha. Because the W sine alpha is pulling the toboggan downwards. And what about the upward axis? There is no motion in the upward direction. Neither the toboggan is moving like a balloon upwards, nor it is digging hole into the inclined surface. So no motion along y-axis, isn't it? So I will apply Newton's first law to the y component. So sum of all Fy is equal to 0. This I can write. Sum of all Fy is equal to 0. And what are the forces acting on the y-axis? One is the normal force N, and the other is the component of the weight, which is W cos alpha. So N minus W cos alpha is equal to 0. Okay, and N is equal to W cos alpha. So N is equal to W cos alpha. Now look at this equation. This is a nice equation, because normally people have the idea that the normal force should be equal to weight. That's why in many books they have wrongly mentioned this N as a normal reaction, because once something is a normal reaction, then you will think that it is the reaction of weight, so it must be equal, and isn't it? So normal force is a reaction of, if you call it as normal reaction, then there will be a misconception in your mind that N will be equal to W always, but not. N is not always equal to W. It is equal to W only for a horizontal surface, and N is equal to W cos alpha for any inclined surface. When alpha is equal to 0, cos alpha is equal to 1, and N is equal to W. Otherwise, it is not equal. Okay, that part is there. And you can also write this N is equal to mg cos alpha. That we'll use in another example. So remember it, mg cos alpha. And what about the horizontal motion? Horizontally, there is an accelerated motion. So I will apply Newton's second law, because now the forces are not balanced. Net forces is not equal to 0. So net forces must be equal to the product of mass and the acceleration ax. Okay. Now what is fx? Fx is W sine alpha, or that is what is called mg sine alpha. So I will write mg sine alpha is equal to max. Mg sine alpha is equal to max. Okay. Now mm cancelled. So you get, remember all these results, because we will use it. So the acceleration of the toboggan in the absence of friction is equal to g sine alpha. So it depends upon acceleration due to gravity of the place and the angle the inclined surface makes with the horizontal. If the alpha is big or the slope is steep, then ax will be more. And if gradually, if you reduce this slope, this steepness will reduce, and if it will become horizontal, then alpha will be 0 and sine 0. So ax is equal to 0. That means your toboggan will move either with constant velocity if it is already moving, or it will be at rest when alpha is equal to 0. And because this ax is directly proportional to alpha, more is the alpha, more will be ax. When alpha is equal to 90 degree, means you go on increasing and make it vertical, completely steep like this, a vertical wall like structure. Then what will happen? And if all the students will ride that toboggan, then there will be free fall. They will fall like stones thrown from the top of a building. And because their ax is now equal to z, so they will entire toboggan with the load of students will fall with an acceleration equal to 9.8 meter per second square downwards, or that is what is called a free fall. So remember all these things, and all these arguments we have done assuming that there is no friction between the well-waxed surface of the toboggan and the snow-covered hill. Now coming to 5.16, which is there in your lesson plan. The question says that now after prolonged use, the wax has been worn off. Worn up, you know, wear and tear, as the tires of a car or a bike gradually worn out. Similarly, after prolonged use, the waxed surface has been worn off. So now there is friction. Okay. If there is friction, then how we are going to express, is there any acceleration and is there any velocity, and if they are there, how they are going to depend? That is our question. Okay, so now we'll go to example 5.16. Now everything is same, the only thing is that now there is friction. So if there is friction, there will be another force opposing the W sin alpha, because this W sin alpha earlier was not getting any opposition. Now for the first time it will get an opposition. So first we will say that for what angle of the toboggan, or what should be what should be the inclination of the inclined surface with the horizontal, so that the toboggan will move with uniform velocity in the presence of friction. That is our question. Did you understand the question, what I say? Did you understand? Am I audible? Okay. So what did I say? What I am going to find out now? What I am going to find out now? I want to find out that what are the relationship between different quantities involved if the toboggan moves with uniform velocity in the presence of friction. Same toboggan, same slope, same, everything is same, but now there is a friction, and there are these toboggan, lot of students are there, everybody loaded like this. Okay, so this angle is there, but now there is a motion with uniform velocity. V is equal to constant, that you must understand, because I have told you this alpha is constant, so direction is constant, speed is constant. That means what happens? What will happen? What is happening actually? Can you say? Already you have reached the point of force of maximum static friction. Then you have reduced your applied force from mu s n to mu k n, so that mu k, so the applied force and the force of kinetic friction balance each other, and the toboggan moves with uniform velocity. So that is the crucial physics that you must learn. So when I will draw the free body diagram for this toboggan in presence of kinetic friction, then what should be, I have to just bring another force only, FBD, for toboggan, for moving with constant velocity. For earlier the toboggan was moving with acceleration, that is in presence, in absence of friction, but now friction is very much present, and first the toboggan will move with uniform velocity, then we will say that the toboggan will move with accelerated acceleration, constant acceleration. Okay, here FBD for toboggan in presence of friction. Now mu k is not equal to 0. In the earlier case, mu k was 0. Okay, so here mu k is not equal to 0. There is mu k. Okay, so what will happen? Again, I will draw my axis. I have to reduce the toboggan with the loaded students to a point. Then I will draw my axis mimicking or imitating the surfaces. So these are my x-axis, this is my y-axis, and then I will show my forces. Now an additional force I have to say. I have to, this W is there, this alpha is there. So there will be one component here. This I will call W sin alpha, the opposite component of alpha. So this is sin W sin alpha. This is the adjacent component. So this will be W cos alpha. And then this W, this is the W. I will wiggle it out. That means I will remove, I have removed it. Don't consider it now. You just consider W sin alpha and W cos alpha, because that is what are the components of this W. W is no more now. And then there is the normal force N. Okay, now look at this beautiful arrangement. Once there is an inclined surface, part of the weight is utilized in balancing the normal force and part of the weight is there to provide you the applied force. But earlier the applied force was there unchallenged. Nobody was there to challenge this W sin alpha. But now there is a force which will challenge this W sin alpha. But the challenge is balanced, equal, because W sin alpha and Fk are same. Because this is constant velocity, v is equal to constant, so acceleration is equal to 0. So I will apply Newton's first law both to the x-axis and to the y-axis, isn't it? So let me first write the Newton's first law for y-axis. So sum of all Fy is equal to 0. Sum of all Fy is equal to 0. Now sum of all Fy means this force N minus W cos alpha. Minus W cos alpha means I can write it as mg cos alpha. So mg cos alpha is equal to 0, isn't it? From here I will get N is equal to mg cos alpha. N is equal to mg cos alpha. N is equal to mg cos alpha, isn't it? Then I will apply Newton's first law to x-axis. So sum of all Fx is equal to 0. Now sum of all Fx is equal to 0 means there are two forces on the x-axis, one along the positive axis, another along the negative x-axis. So W sin alpha minus Fk or mg sin alpha minus mg sin alpha minus Fk means mu kn. Mu kn is equal to 0, isn't it? I can write it like this. Then I will take my mu kn to the right hand side. So this will become mg sin alpha is equal to mg sin alpha is equal to mu k. And in place of n, I have already found out my n to be equal to mg cos alpha. So this will be mg cos alpha, isn't it? So if mg cos alpha, mm get cancelled. Here one m is there, here one m is there. Here one g is there, this is also one g. Then I will bring my cos alpha to the left hand side. So I will get tan alpha is equal to mu k. Tan alpha is equal to mu k, and mu k is coefficient of kinetic friction, that you must understand. So alpha is equal to tan inverse mu k. Alpha is equal to tan inverse mu k. This is a very surprising result, because now your alpha is the crucial term, and this alpha doesn't bother about the masses which are going to slide, because whether it is an elephant, whether it is an ant, whether it is in a box, whether it's a huge structure, it doesn't bother about their masses, because mass has not come into picture on the right hand side. Rather, alpha only depends upon the coefficient of kinetic friction. If there is more coefficient of kinetic friction, then you have to adjust your alpha for different kind of states, isn't it? Suppose your alpha at this particular value tan inverse mu k, it is the body is moving with constant velocity. So naturally, if you increase the alpha, there will be a net force, because your W sin alpha will increase. More the alpha, more is the sin alpha, more will be W sin alpha. And W sin alpha is the applied force. Fk is always constant. So W sin alpha is now greater than Fk. So W sin alpha minus Fk, there is a net force, and that net force will generate an acceleration, and the body will move with constant acceleration. So more the alpha, if you exceed alpha from tan inverse mu k, the body moves with constant acceleration. If you maintain alpha at tan inverse mu k, your body slides with constant velocity. And if you reduce your alpha from tan inverse mu k, your body moves with, your body stops moving, because now W sin alpha will be inadequate in countering the force of kinetic friction. So 5.16 is over. Now we'll come to example 5.1617. Now you increase this alpha. You have already now increased. So now there will be acceleration. So now for this particular alpha, which is bigger than this tan inverse mu k, there is a net force. So you cannot apply Newton's first law to x-axis. You can apply Newton's first law to y-axis, but now because now your W sin alpha is bigger than Fk. Okay, so mg sin alpha minus mu k n is not equal to 0. Remember, okay, it is not equal to 0. Rather, it will be equal to mass into acceleration, because now your toboggan is not moving with constant velocity. Rather, it is moving with constant acceleration, isn't it? So acceleration is present now. Okay, so it will move with constant acceleration. So there is a net force. So here also you cannot call it 0. This is max, isn't it? So this is also max. So you cannot write it like this. So what I will do, in place of this equality, I will put that minus symbol, and then this is equal to max, isn't it? This is equal to max. Okay, this is example 5.17. I am doing the most general example. Actually, that example 5.17 should have been chosen in the lesson plan, so that it automatically involves 5.10 and 5.16. Anyway, now this m is cancelled, this m is cancelled, this m is cancelled, but g is not cancelled. Remember, this g is very much present, because max doesn't contain a g. So what will happen now? You see, now you will find out that my equation for acceleration will become, I am writing my acceleration here. So ax. Now if you increase the angle, I have told you earlier, from tan inverse mu k, then there will be an acceleration, and you can write the acceleration as a z into, inside the bracket you will get sine alpha minus mu k cos alpha, sine alpha minus mu k cos alpha. And this is a very beautiful equation which contains not only the two examples that we have discussed, example 5.10 and 5.16, but it also gives you another two extra informations. What are those things? Probably I have got 1 minute, so let me tell you one thing. At least let me find out how we are getting example 5.10 and 5.16. If you remember, in absence of friction, the acceleration of the toboggan is ax is equal to g sine alpha. When there is no friction, this mu k is equal to 0. And because this mu k is equal to 0, then your ax is equal to, which will be, the second part will be 0, because mu k into cos alpha will be 0. Then ax is equal to g sine alpha. And that is what we have derived in example 5.10. And when, for example 5.16, because the toboggan is moving with constant velocity in presence of friction, so ax is equal to 0. So if ax is equal to 0, I will put the left hand side as 0. Okay, then g sine alpha is equal to minus mu k g cos alpha is equal to g sine alpha minus g mu k cos alpha is equal to 0. Okay, or g sine alpha is equal to g mu k cos alpha, or sine alpha is equal to mu k cos alpha, or tan alpha is equal to mu k, or alpha is equal to tan inverse mu k. Example 5.16, isn't it? So that is how I have got the two examples that I have discussed earlier from these master equations, isn't it? And there are two other things also which I will discuss. Maybe the other teachers must be there. So let me stop it here, and I will just tell you about the two other cases. What happens when alpha is equal to 0 and when alpha is equal to 90 degree? What is happening? Because at alpha is equal to 90 degree, already you have seen in presence of friction, or even in the presence of friction also, the body will have a free fall. All these things we will discuss in the next class. So let me stop here. Thank you very much for your attention. So We'll meet in the next class. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon all.